Have you ever laughed at a joke that secretly cut you deep and wondered, was that really humor or a hidden jab? Sometimes, the most damaging words don't come from enemies, but from people who smile while they wound you. Have you ever heard someone say something about you that hit you right in the chest but when you reacted, they laughed and said, "I'm just joking?" They smiled, maybe nudged you like it was all in fun. But deep down, you knew something wasn't right. That wasn't a joke. That was an attack in disguise. That was venom wrapped in a smile. See, when someone close to you secretly carries resentment, they rarely say it outright. No, they're too clever for that. Instead, they weaponize humor. They hide their insults behind laughter so they can hurt you, then make you feel guilty for feeling hurt. It's a mind game, because the moment you call them out, they say you're too sensitive, that you can't take a joke. And just like that, they flip the script and make you question yourself. That's not love, that's manipulation. And the Bible says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. You better believe that. Someone who consistently jokes about your insecurities, your appearance, your dreams, your failures, they're not just playing. They're performing their resentment. And every performance has a purpose. To chip away at your confidence without ever owning the damage. I want to speak to the one who keeps laughing along with it. To the soul that keeps making excuses for someone who constantly turns them into the punchline. You've been swallowing your pain because you don't want to lose the relationship. You tell yourself, that's just how they are. You say, they don't mean any harm, even when your heart tells you otherwise. But just because someone is close doesn't mean they care. Just because you've known them for years doesn't mean they love you right. There's a difference between playful teasing and subtle cruelty. One builds connection, the other builds walls. If you've ever walked away from a joke feeling smaller than when you walked in, that wasn't love speaking, that was hate whispering. Some of the deepest wounds come from people who hide behind humor because they don't have the courage to speak their bitterness out loud. Let's be honest, it's not always easy to recognize it. When someone's been in your life for a long time, you start thinking their behavior is normal. You've grown numb to the harshness. But the longer you let it slide, the deeper it cuts. Silence becomes permission. Laughter becomes denial. And your soul carries a weight it was never meant to bear. That's why you have to test the spirit behind the words. Not just what they say, but how they say it, when they say it, and why. Ask yourself, are they building me up or tearing me down? Are they speaking life into me or draining it from me with every smile hiding a jab? Let me tell you something powerful. God did not create you to be anyone's emotional punching bag. He didn't design your spirit to endure hidden hostility disguised as humor. No, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Your worth is not up for negotiation. Anyone who tries to lower your value with backhanded comments is not operating in love. They are operating in pride, envy, and unhealed darkness. You don't have to yell back. You don't have to return insult for insult. But you do have to recognize it. You do have to protect your peace. Because if you don't set boundaries with people who hide hatred in jokes, they'll keep stealing pieces of your identity while pretending they care. There is healing in truth. There is power in discernment. And there is freedom in finally saying, that's not okay. You can love someone and still refuse to let them disrespect you. You can forgive someone and still create distance between your heart and their poison. Don't let your loyalty become your prison. Some people are close in body but far in spirit. They sit at your table but bring nothing but shadows. They want access to your joy, but they resent your light. And when they can't dim it directly, they joke. They smirk. They chip away at your soul, one sarcastic comment at a time. But listen to me. You don't have to live under that anymore. You don't have to pretend like you're not hurting. You don't have to carry the weight of their silent hatred. That's not your burden to bear. You can let it go. You can walk in truth. You can rise above it because the God who sees every heart sees yours too. He knows what you've endured. He knows the sting of those words that haunted your nights. He saw the tears you cried after jokes you were too afraid to confront. And now, he's calling you to rise, to open your eyes, to choose peace over proximity, to protect your soul like it matters because it does. There's something sacred about joy. Real, deep, honest joy. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not envious. It's a quiet, powerful celebration of someone else's breakthrough. And when someone truly loves you, they rejoice with you. They see your growth, your success, your answered prayers. Their spirit says, "Yes, Lord. Thank you for blessing them." But when someone close to you secretly resents you, they can't do that. They might say congratulations with their lips, but their heart is far from the moment. Their words are hollow. Their smile fades too quickly, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the silence that follows your good news. You can feel it in the forced applause. You can feel it when you look in their eyes and there's no light, no warmth, no sincerity, just tension. And it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to admit that someone you care about, someone you let in, might not want to see you rise. They won't say it directly. They'll be careful with their words. But the absence of joy still speaks. The delay in their response is still a sign. Because if someone is truly for you, you don't have to shrink when you win. You don't have to second guess whether they're proud of you. You don't have to tiptoe around your blessings just to protect their ego. You weren't made to dim your light just to make someone else comfortable. If they loved you right, they'd want your light to shine bright, even if theirs is flickering. They'd cheer from the heart, not just from their mouth. They'd say, "I'm proud of you," and mean it, not just mimic it. But when someone secretly resents you, your success becomes their discomfort. Your blessings feel like threats, and they'll try to cut the conversation short. They'll steer it away from what God is doing in your life. They'll pretend like it's nothing special. Let me tell you something. Not everyone who claps for you is clapping for you. Some are clapping because they don't want to look bitter. Some are clapping because they feel obligated. And some are clapping just loud enough to cover up the jealousy boiling underneath. But you can't fake real love. You can't disguise genuine support. Love doesn't envy. Love celebrates. When you tell someone you've been promoted and they respond, "Must be nice. Pay attention." When you share that you're healing and they change the subject, remember that. When you open your heart and they go silent, don't ignore that silence. Silence speaks. Silence reveals what words try to hide. People who are truly for you will overflow with joy when you rise. But those who secretly resent you will treat your success like a burden they're forced to carry. And to the one who's been downplaying their growth to make someone else feel better, I see you. I know you want peace. I know you don't want to lose the connection. But you've been robbing yourself of celebration, robbing yourself of gratitude because you're afraid of how they'll respond. And that's not love. That's not friendship. That's not family. That's fear. And you weren't given a spirit of fear but of power, love, and a sound mind. Don't let their quiet resentment steal the moment God gave you. Don't hold your breath when you were meant to breathe deep. Don't whisper your good news when heaven is shouting over you. If they can't rejoice with you, maybe they're not meant to walk with you. And I know that hurts. I know that's hard to accept, but it's better to walk with 2 honest souls than 10 silent enemies. Sometimes, people you've known for years start feeling distant. And it's not because life got busy, it's because your progress made them uncomfortable. And you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't grow to hurt them. You just healed. You stepped into your purpose. You walked into what God called you to, and your light exposed their shadows. Your elevation challenged their complacency, and instead of letting your journey inspire them, they chose to resent it. But let me encourage you, keep going, keep rising, keep walking in what God has called you to. And don't look back for those who never intended to walk with you. Don't beg for support from those who secretly hope you fall. Don't confuse imitation with intimacy. One of the most painful signs that someone close to you secretly harbors resentment is how they treat you when you're hurting. You see, love shows up in pain. Real love doesn't run when your soul is bleeding, it sits with you. It listens, it prays, it covers. But when someone secretly resents you, your pain won't draw them in. It'll push them further away. Not because they're giving you space, but because your vulnerability doesn't move them. It satisfies them. I know that's hard to hear, but some people don't just ignore your pain, they feel justified by it. They see your tears, and instead of compassion, something inside them feels validated. They won't say it. They'll mask it with silence. But deep down, your suffering doesn't break their heart, it reassures them. Because they've been waiting for life to humble you, waiting for your high places to level out, waiting for your strength to shake so their distance finally makes sense. Pay attention to who disappears when you're going through it. Not everyone who walks away during your storm is confused, were simply revealed. When everything was going well, they stood beside you. When your name was being praised, they smiled just enough to blend in. But when your world began to shake, they vanished. Not because they couldn't reach you, but because they never really wanted to. They weren't rooted in love. They were rooted in comparison. And when your pain stripped you of the strength they secretly envied, they no longer saw the need to pretend. Someone who truly loves you can't watch you suffer and stay silent. They'll reach out. They'll check in. They'll speak life even if they don't know exactly what to say. But a heart filled with quiet hate sees your struggle as proof that you're not untouchable. In a twisted way, it comforts them, and their lack of compassion becomes the loudest confession they'll ever make. Some of you have been hurting in front of people who won't even ask, "Are you okay?" You've cried near people who didn't even blink. You've hinted at the pain in your soul, and they changed the subject. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's not support. That's a heart that's never truly been connected to yours. A heart that never really cared but played the part as long as you were strong. It's easy to love someone when they're on the mountaintop. Easy to show up when the light is bright and the applause is loud. But valleys? Valleys reveal who's truly walking with you. Loss exposes loyalty, pain tests presence, and when you hit your lowest point, the ones who stay? That's love. That's what's real. That's what's rare. The rest were only ever there for the highlight reel, not the heartbreak. And maybe you've tried to make excuses for their absence. Maybe you've told yourself they're just busy, or overwhelmed, or didn't know what to say. But the truth is, when someone wants to be there, they make it known. It doesn't take a long speech. It doesn't require perfect words. Just a message, just a prayer, just a voice that says, "I see you, I care." Love doesn't hide in the shadows. When pain enters the room, love shows heaven if it has to stumble in. But when someone secretly hates you, your pain isn't their concern, it's their confirmation. Confirmation that you're not as strong as you once seemed. Confirmation that maybe, just maybe, they were right to envy less and judge more. And instead of reaching out their hand, they cross their arms. Instead of offering grace, they watch from a distance, hoping you stay down just long enough for them to feel better about the parts of you they couldn't compete with. You can't change that kind of heart. You can't convince someone to care, but you can protect your spirit. You can stop opening your soul to people who only show up when you shine. You can stop expecting love from those who never knew how to give it. And you can trust God to surround you with the right people. People who see your pain and move toward you, not away. Because someone who's secretly against you won't pray for your healing. They won't carry your burdens. They won't defend your name when it's being dragged through the mud. And listen, you should never have to beg for the kind of love that leans in when life breaks you open. So if you're in a season where you're hurting, and the people closest to you have grown silent, don't ignore that. Don't push it aside. Let it teach you. Let it refine your circle. Because some people aren't quiet by accident. They're quiet on purpose, and their silence is saying more than words ever could. Pay attention to who stays silent when you need them the most. There's a certain kind of heaviness that comes from being around someone who constantly makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. No matter what you say, how gently you speak, or how hard you try, it's never enough. You find yourself walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around their moods, and second-guessing yourself more than you'd like to admit. And over time, without even realizing it, you begin to lose your voice. That's what manipulation does. It doesn't always shout. It doesn't always raise its voice. Sometimes it whispers through guilt. It gaslights you into believing that you're the problem when in reality, you've just become the target of someone who never intended to love you honestly. Manipulation wears a soft smile. It hides in calculated silence. It twists your intentions and makes you question your worth. It turns the mirror back on you until you start apologizing for things you didn't even do. And when someone close to you secretly resents you, they won't always confront you direct like that would be too obvious. No. Instead, they chip away at you slowly. They say things that sting, then laugh it off like it's a harmless joke. They withhold support, and when you bring it up, they accuse you of being too sensitive. They plant tiny seeds of doubt about yourself, your calling, your future. And if you're not careful, those seeds grow. They grow into confusion, into self-blame, into silence. Let me tell you something, love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't use silence as a weapon. Love doesn't make you feel like you're stuck in a maze with no way out. Love brings peace. Love brings clarity. Love brings accountability, but never at the cost of your soul. Manipulation, on the other hand, feeds on imbalance. It thrives on control. And when someone secretly harbors resentment toward you, they won't speak truthfully. They'll control you subtly. They'll make you believe everything is your fault. If they're angry, it must be because you said the wrong thing. If they're distant, it's because you didn't try hard enough. If the relationship feels cold, then maybe it's your fault for not loving them better. Do you see the pattern? In their mind, you're always the one falling short. And the longer you carry that weight, the more you begin to believe it. But let me remind you of the truth. Someone who truly loves you will never use your kindness against you. They'll never take your loyalty and turn it into a trap of emotional confusion. When someone secretly resents you, they'll distort the relationship just enough so that you're the one constantly giving, constantly explaining, constantly fixing while they receive, blame, and hide. Why? Because deep down, they don't want healing. They want control. Now, I want to speak to the soul that's tired. You've been trying to keep the peace. You've been trying to be the bigger person. You've been walking in grace, turning the other cheek, praying for understanding. And still, it's not enough. You've cried in secret. You've doubted yourself in silence. But today, let the truth set you free. You are not the problem. God never calls you to live in confusion. He is not the author of manipulation. When God places people in your life, it's to build you, not to break you, to refine you, not to confuse you. And when someone close becomes a source of constant blame and silent punishment, you must begin to discern the difference between loyalty and bondage. Loyalty doesn't mean losing yourself to make someone else feel comfortable. You were created in the image of God. You carry a light that was never meant to be dimmed by guilt or fear. And when someone tries to control that light, when they use your compassion as leverage, they are not walking in love. They are walking in hidden hostility. And if that hostility is left unchecked, it will drain your spirit and distract you from your purpose. There is nothing godly about being manipulated. There is nothing holy about enduring abuse disguised as friendship or family. And if lately you've felt like you're shrinking, constantly apologizing, walking on edge, hear this. God sees it. God knows it. And He never intended for you to live under emotional control. He called you to walk in truth. He called you to walk in freedom. He called you to peace. It's time to stop excusing what you already know is damaging your soul. Love may be patient, love may be kind, but love is not blind. Real love requires truth. And truth does not manipulate. Truth doesn't play mind games. Truth doesn't silence your voice, it raises it. So if you've been made to feel like you're the problem, for simply being yourself, for expressing your needs, your hopes, your pain, it's time to take a closer look. That's not love, that's control. And control is not your portion. Don't confuse guilt with grace. One of the clearest signs that someone close to you may secretly resent you is how they react when good things happen in your life. Not when you're struggling, not when you're down, but when you're winning. When God opens a door, when favor falls, when a prayer you've held onto for years is finally answered. Those are the moments of joy and breakthrough when hidden hearts are revealed. Because real love rejoices when you rejoice. But secret hate, it grows quiet. It grows cold. And sometimes, it even grows bitter. Pay attention to the silence that follows your success. Because some people won't say a word when your blessings arrive. They won't congratulate you. They won't show up. They'll just watch. Quietly. And that silence? It's louder than any applause they could have offered. It's the silence of someone who never wanted to see you rise. The silence of someone who was only comfortable with you when you stayed behind them, beneath them, smaller than them. Because when someone truly loves you, your elevation becomes their celebration. They don't compete with you, they cheer for you. They don't compare themselves, they thank God with you. They say, "Look what the Lord has done." And they mean every word. But when jealousy and resentment live deep in someone's heart, your victory becomes their irritation. Your joy becomes their discomfort. Your answered prayers become a threat to their pride. There's something very revealing about how people treat you when the spotlight shifts. You didn't ask for it. You didn't chase it. But God elevated you. He placed something in your hands. He gave you a breakthrough, a platform, a new chapter, and suddenly, the ones who once clapped for you fall silent. Why? Because your blessing unsettles their insecurity. Your light reveals the darkness they never confronted. And instead of being inspired, they retreat into quiet bitterness. It doesn't always look like hate at first. Sometimes, it's subtle. They don't text like they used to. They stop asking about the things that excite you. They change the subject when you share your joy. Their tone is flat. Their face is blank. Their heart is closed. They might smile, but their eyes don't agree. They might say, "That's great, but there's no warmth in it." And deep down, you feel it. What should be a moment of celebration suddenly feels like tension. And that's because it is. Let's be honest. Some people liked you better when you were broken. They were more comfortable when you needed help. You were easier to handle when your life was on pause. But the moment you start moving forward, growing, healing, building, that's when the mask comes off. Because your growth reveals their stagnation. Your faith exposes their fear. Your blessing reminds them of everything they've avoided, neglected, or buried. And instead of confronting their own hearts, they project it all onto you. But hear this. Don't let their silence steal your celebration. Don't let their bitterness rob you of your joy. You don't owe anyone an apology for what God is doing in your life. You don't have to shrink to make others feel comfortable. You don't have to dim your light because someone else refuses to find theirs. If God has lifted your rejoice. If He answered your prayer, testify. If He brought you through, shout it from the rooftops. Because the people who are truly for you, they'll dance when you win. They'll stand beside you, not behind you. They'll remind you this is just the beginning. And they'll thank God with you, not just for you, But those who can't do that, the ones who go quiet, who disappear, who stay distant, don't fight to keep them close. Because when someone secretly hates you, their silence during your success isn't confusion. It's confirmation. You don't have to beg for support. You don't have to explain your joy. The people God sends for your next chapter will know how to celebrate with you. They won't flinch when your season changes. They won't pull back when you're blessed. They'll look at what God is doing and say, "Yes, Lord, do it again." So watch how they respond when God moves in your life. Not everyone who claps is clapping out of love. Not everyone who hugs you is holding you in honesty. Not everyone who smiles is smiling from a clean heart. Some are watching you win, and deep down, they're hoping you fall. But your job is not to change their hearts. Your job is to stay faithful to what God gave you. And if He brought you here, He will sustain you. He will protect you. He will surround you with people who don't just watch you rise. They lift you higher. Because joy is too holy to be shared with jealous hearts. Let their silence speak. Let their absence confirm. But don't let it stop your praise. Your blessing is not up for debate.